Goeienaand, good evening, fellow South Africans, and the attached video should be of great interest to anybody who is concerned about their land being expropriated without compensation. It's a speech by Lawrence Mavundla. He's an African fella, and it's given to a very well-regarded group called the Free Market Foundation. And Mavundla is the president of the National African Federated Chamber of Commerce Industry, also known as NAFCOC, that's NAFCOC. And in this video, he explains how corrupt the process of land expropriation is, and how the individuals who are involved in it will just look after their mates when it comes to land expropriation, and how, it's a completely failed process. And he also talks about the impact of nationalized land on getting a loan from the bank. So it's a very interesting discussion by an African fellow, but they've actually suffered from land expropriation without compensation for a while now, which is something I didn't know. And he talks about the impact of that on everybody. All right, guys, please remember to subscribe to be kept informed, and have a great day. And Merry Christmas. Oh, I forgot my hat. I'm sorry. I'm already in Christmas, so you'll have to give me. Ciao.
Okay. Seeing that I don't have a written speech, I might as well stand far from this. Okay. The reason I don't have a written speech is because I'm going to be talking about experience that is practical. So something like that you don't have to write, because people can see it, it's there, and it's normal. Thank you very much for the opportunity, Leon. Thank you very much. We come a long way. I represent NAFCOC, the National African Federated Chamber of Commerce and Industry. This is an organization that was started by Dr. Richard Maponya in 1964. It represented what was the hope of South African black business. Black business at a time were not allowed to trade, and they had to come together to form an organization so that they can have a collective voice to represent their interest. But what has happened between then and now is that in South Africa, for a very, very long time, the townships and rural areas had a lot of black-owned businesses that were under NAFCOC or organized under NAFCOC. And if you saw any success in the black areas, it was a member of NAFCOC in any form or another. The first time I saw a beautiful car was one of the shop owners there. But what has happened is that all those has disappeared. You no longer see very successful businesses in the townships, and that is because they never owned the properties where they were trading. They never owned. They were owned by municipalities. So, which means, therefore, they had no security, and they could not trade with the two most important commodities that you trade if you run a shop. One, they could not sell goodwill. You know, when you have a shop, you are able to sell goodwill when you're moving. They could not sell that. Secondly, they could not sell the properties because they never owned them. And now we've got, a new government, and the new government is, I would say, colorblind. They don't care about where you came from and so on. They just allowed Pick and Pay, Checkers, and everyone to move into the township without taking into account that those who were in the township did not get a fair opportunity to come up first, before you could allow that. So they just said, come into the township. So Pick and Pay, Checkers, and so on came into the township and killed everything. So there are no black retailers anymore. And in the rural areas, if you see schools, if you see the roads, if you see the whatever development is happening there, today, not in the past, today, the land on which those are built have been expropriated without compensation. So this land expropriation without compensation, the white people are surprised by it because it's new to them. To us, it's happening now. Today, we are experiencing that. If you see a road, no one pays you. They just tell you, look, we're going to do a road here, and they take the land. Today, in the rural areas and in the township. And again, today, we are experiencing all of those. So why is there a hullabaloo now about land expropriation without compensation? Why hasn't anyone come up and said, this is wrong? Because it has been happening. Is it because it's happening to white farmers now? It's going to happen to white farmers. So we can never say it is correct or it will be correct, in future. But we've got to try and stop the bleeding now so that we don't all bleed to death, because eventually almost everyone is not going to have property, because it's going to start with properties. Because the fact of the matter is, who is going to implement this expropriation of land without compensation? You must think about that. You might not, it might be your party of your choice or the people of your choice, but the fact of the matter is, it's an administrator down there in the municipality that's going to do the expropriation. And that guy, today, those are the most corrupt people. I was just walking in the mall, and then I'm asking the lady who's cleaning the floor if I can pass on the other side. She said, if you give me a cold drink, you can pass. I stood up and I looked at her. I said, is corruption so rife that even a lady who's cleaning, the floor feels that for her to allow me to pass, I must pay something? That's how far corruption is now. Now, how are we going to survive with those corrupt officials who are the engine of government, who implement this decision, who are going to be expropriating the land? So we've got to really sit down and ask ourselves, how is this going to happen? I'm not for a second saying that the ownership of land in South Africa is proper, because, where it hurts the most is the fact that my child goes to, in 1983, there was a politician in KZN called Ray Swart. Yeah, I was coming from Joburg, and I met this Ray Swart. And he was fighting because the government was expropriating land in Richards Bay. That's how you got Richards Bay Minerals and other firms there. So the land was taken as recent as 1983. So and I come from there. I come from Richards Bay. So my neighbor, who now owns a farm there in Richards Bay, who took it from me, the two children, my child is going to the bank and asking for a loan. That neighbor can give my land to his son, and his son is going to present it to the bank as security. And my son have got nothing to present. Right? My son, these two kids who had nothing to do with apartheid. The one is going to the bank to ask for a loan, and the other one is also going to the bank to ask for a loan. And the two of them are asked for security. And my child cannot offer any security for the land that belonged to his father. And my neighbor is offering security of the land that was mine, that I was never paid for. So how do you correct this? So we do have a dilemma, and we do need to attend to the issue of land ownership patterns in South Africa. And it's a must, because it's not a scar of the past, it's a scar that I live with every day. When I pass by my place, I still see the trees I planted there. I still see in Richards Bay we plant a lot of avocados, and so I still pass there and see those avocados, and I say, this was my place. And the graves of my forefathers and that, I now need permission to go and visit them in the land that was never paid for. Let alone that I was not given money to go and build elsewhere. I've now built somewhere else, through the struggle. So this is the real pain that every person is walking around with. And we can never have a united country with such injustice, because there can never be freedom without justice. Justice is the fundamental of freedom. And justice means what was done wrong needs to be corrected. They can never do anything about it. But I am talking as a businessman, and I'm saying, but I cannot entrust my life to a politician, because a politician is not there permanently, for starters, and a politician has got no interest whatsoever of mine. His interest is just to be voted into power in case, and so on. So I don't think that politicians are dishonest, but I just think that they cannot resolve our problem. So what we have been doing, because we can't complain, we can't say we're free and also have a meeting of this nature with such great minds to come and collaborate our complaint, put our complaint together. We will get nowhere. So you need to look at what is the way forward. So what we have done is, together with my predecessor, Patrice Motsepe, we met with all the CEOs of the banks, and we called Agri SA, and we called our affiliate NAFU South Africa, which is the Agricultural Union of NAFCOC. And we said, guys, we have a problem. But the banks, being who they are, they got excited because we brought also the traditional leaders. They got excited that they saw this untapped market of traditional leadership land, where they can now, come in and offer loans. But we said to the chiefs, the banks are very naughty. The banks will give me a loan to buy a car of 3 million rands, and they will hold the car as security. But the same banks, if I were to go back with being the same person, with the same salary, and ask them if they would give me a loan, for a business loan of 3 million rands, they will not give it to me. It will take 6 months for approval, but the approval of a car of 3 million will take 2 hours. And the car, when you drive it out, it loses 30% value. They don't care about that. So the bank's reason for holding the land as security has nothing to do with looking for security. If they can take a car as security, why can't they take my business as security? The viability of my business as security. So we said, look, bankers, do not take the rural people's land as security, because we don't want that. You must take whatever business is presented to you as security, fund it or not, because at the end of the day, there is a perception amongst all South Africans that rural people are poor, right? But let me tell you this, I live there. Rural people are not as poor as people in the urban areas. in the rural areas, you'll never find a beggar. There are no beggars in the street, right? Because there is an economy that operates in the rural area which operates differently from the economy in town. In the rural area, our own economy used to work like this. If you are poor, we would give you a cow, and if the offsprings you can take, but you must also give back the cow. You know, that was our economy, and it worked for us. This business of buying and selling came, you know, it's a foreign idea. It's not our way of doing business. So you can't change our lifestyle there. We love it the way it is. So what is important is that we need to provide a solution, but not disadvantage the people even and put them in a worse position. So the banks, we have said to them, banks, you can come in, but you're not going to take the land as security. Not at all. You must take the business as security or go away. The rural people have never said they need you anyway. You saw an opportunity, you are going there, so you must take risk. For every opportunity, there is risk. So we are trying to unite black and white farmers, and we are trying to say to them, let's work out a mechanism. Because there are guys who have got 65 farms, and they live elsewhere. They live elsewhere, and those farms are lying fallow. But there is also government, you know, in in Bryanston, I know of at least 20 properties which belongs to government, and government don't know them. They don't know those properties. And I know this property belongs to the government. So government has got a lot of land, which it also doesn't know. Some of the land that our government owns is even overseas. In the US, they own land. In everywhere else, they own land, which they don't know. So all of that needs to be taken into account. But we need a business solution as business people, because if we are going, and as communities, we must realize and agree that as South Africans, we've got a problem of land, and we cannot allow people who live like those in Alex that are living without, those people have got kids who are growing there in a very, degrading environment, and those kids are going to the same school. So we are having a problem of people who must live during the day, the first world life, and at night, the squalor life. And this is not acceptable. So we need to change those patterns. But as we change those patterns, we must also make sure that there's an economy there that's working. And that economy can only work if people, business people, have got trust to invest in that area. And they can only invest if there is security and their investment is secured. But we need to come up with a solution. Maybe we must organize another seminar and provide solutions and go and submit that. And what we have proposed between black farmers and white farmers is that on the 22nd of December, we are going to have the world-renowned singer Beyonce, and we're going to all go on stage and make a declaration and say, as South Africans, this is the solution we are proposing. We don't care about what they are doing in Parliament. Let them carry on. It's their job there. But we also have a job to do as business people, and our job is to provide a solution that suits us, because we cannot rely on the solution that suits someone else. So we need to all contribute towards a solution that can work. And the matter is about the administration. How are you going to administer this whole thing? Because we cannot leave our future to the corrupt local government officials that are going to implement this, because those people will make this country worse than what it is already, because those people do not have the interest of the country at heart. They've got interest of small change that they are giving. So we need a real solution. And I'm saying to you, we cannot have a situation where there is expropriation of land right now, which is currently happening. And the implementers of this current expropriation of land without compensation that's happening to black people in the rural areas and in the township is being administered by local government. So people mustn't think that, you're worrying about Parliament. I'm not worried about Parliament. But why? Because expropriation is currently happening. So why must I worry about the future instead of stopping the bleeding now? We need to stop the bleeding now. And I really think that never again must we trust our lives to the politicians. We must come up with a solution ourselves. I thank you.